Hello, this is Miss Cliffner with your warm-up for today. I'm going to ask you to find the mean number of points scored for each team. And then the next question says, based on the mean, which scores differ the most from the mean? So I just want you to think about, I'm actually going to teach you how to do that in this lesson, but I want you to think about if you didn't really know what math to do, like could you look at the numbers and figure out, basically you would look at the mean of the Panthers and see whatever that number is, see how many scores are close to that or how many are far away. And the same thing with the Jefferson Eagles. You would find the mean and then you would look at this data and see how different these numbers are from its mean. You don't see how different the means are from each other. Okay, so you should pause the video, try this warm up. I'm just going to basically show you that, remember how you find the mean. You add up all the numbers. You divide by how many numbers of numbers. You get 41. So 41 points is the mean for the Panthers. And then for the Eagles, again, you add up all the numbers and divide by how many. So now I want you to think about this. The average is 56. And I see, let's say if I look at the lowest score in this list, how far away is 40 from 56, right? So it's 16 points away. And then maybe look at the biggest number. So 40 is, sorry, did I say 6? Yeah, 16 points away from 56. And 70 is 14 points away, right? So I just picked the biggest number and the lowest number to see how far away it was from the mean. I'm going to do the same thing with the Panthers. We've got 41. The biggest number in this list is 54, so it's 13 away. And then the smallest number in the list is 26, so it's 15 away. So these are 13 and 15 away, and these numbers, the biggest numbers are 14 and 16 away. So basically, that's sort of an intro to what we're going to do in this lesson. Okay, so here we go. Mean absolute deviation. The essential question is, how can we use the distance between each data value and the mean of a data set to measure the spread of the data set? So the meaning of the word deviate, right, is when you deviate from something, you stray or you depart from the normal course of action. So see how this red car is driving down the road and then it goes off to the side. So what we're trying to figure out is, kind of like this example here, how far away is each of these numbers from 41? And then I'll look at the second set of data and I'll figure out how far away are these numbers from 56. You have to use the mean of a data set. You wouldn't look at the lakeside numbers and figure out how far it is from 56. So you use the mean of a data set and you figure out how much deviation there is from the average in the rest of the numbers of the data set. All right, so here we go. Let's fill in some words. Besides the range and the IQR. So remember, the range is the biggest number minus the smallest, right? So it's big minus small. Remember, the IQR was Q3 minus Q1. Those are measures of variation. And now we have our third measure of variation that we're going to learn about. It's called mean absolute deviation. So it has to do with how far away a number is from the mean. The mean absolute deviation is an average of how much data values differ from the mean. It's the data's average distance from the mean. So it tells us about how far spread apart the numbers are. Okay. Once you have all those words, let's look at the steps. So step one is to find the mean of the data, right? Add up all the numbers and divide by how many. Step two is find the distance between each data value and the mean. And I'm saying you can use a dot plot as a tool, right? It's one thing you can use. You don't always have to do that. Third step is find the sum of the distances in step two. And the fourth step is divide the sum in step 3 by the total number of data values. Well, wait a minute. This sounds like when you find the mean again. So what you're doing is you're finding the average distance by taking all of those distances and adding them together and dividing by the number. So notice how underneath it says combine as one step. So combine steps 3 and 4, you're finding the average distance from the mean. And when you find an average, you add up all the numbers and divide by how many. Okay, so let's take a look at what this looks like. So here's our first set of data. You record the numbers of raisins in 8 scoops of cereal. Find and interpret the mean absolute deviation of the data, right? I personally take the raisins out of mine, but I've yet to count them. So find the math. So step 1 is to find the mean. So how do we find the mean? We add up all those numbers and divide by how many. So you're going to add 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 5. And then how many numbers are there? Well, there should have been 8, right? Because we did 8 scoops of cereal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you take that and you divide by 8. And when you add those numbers, it's 24 divided by 8 equals 3. So the average number of raisins in a scoop would be 3. Okay, step 2 says use a dot plot to help you list the distances from the mean for each data value. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Here is the mean right here, right? You know, remember how I showed you that a lot of times they put a little triangle? Oops, I probably shouldn't cover up the number 3. Let's put the triangle underneath right here. Okay, so the mean is the average right there. Okay, so I had a 1, and I had 1, 2, oops, let's see. I don't want to do it as a dot plot. Here's what I want to do. I want to put how many spaces away this 1 is from 3. So if I put this dot here, you can see the distance that 1 is from the average is 2 spaces, right? So what's the difference between 1 raisin and 3? It would be 2. So what I can do in my dot plot is write the distance next to it as a 2. And then how many 2's are there? 1, 2, 3. So there's 1, 2, 3 2's. And the 2's are 1 space away from the 3. So I've got a 1, and a 1. And then the next one I have is 3 4's. So I've got a 4. Oops. A 4. Okay. 4, 4, and 4. And how far away is 4 from 3? Remember, distance is always positive. So it's on this, it's on the right-hand side, but it's still 1 space away. So I've got a 1, and a 1. And then I have 1, 5. And the 5 is 1, 2 spaces away. Okay, so here we go. The distance that all of these dots are from the average is shown right next to the number. And of course, I should have 8 distances, right? Oh, and I want to point out, if one of these numbers in here was 3, and if I was putting a dot on 3, since it's right on 3, the distance would be 0. So I'd be adding a 0. Okay, so I have 8 numbers that I have to add now. These are the distance from the mean that each of those dots is. So I'm adding 2 plus 1 plus 1 plus, okay, how many 1's do I have? I have 6 1's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, plus I have another 2. So when I add all those numbers, I get 10, right? 2 plus 2 is 4 plus the 6 1, so it's 10 divided by 8. Okay, so I get 1.25 when I use the calculator and do the math. So what I'm saying is this. The data values differ from the mean by an average of 1.25 raisins. Now, the big deal is maybe somebody else had a package where the scoops differed by maybe 4 or 5 raisins, right? So then that means that data is more spread out, which means it's kind of less predictable, right? When we do surveys, we're trying to predict behavior. And so here is my, the MAD is 1.25 raisins. And the meaning of the MAD, when I interpret it, I'm just saying how far apart the data values are. And they differ by about 1.25 raisins. Okay, I know it seems complicated, but once you practice it a couple times, it gets pretty easy. Okay, so here is an OYO, and this is it. And then I'll show you some problems that you can do in the book. Find and interpret the mean absolute deviation of the data. So I'm just going to count that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces of data. So go ahead and pause this video and try this problem on your own. Okay, so there's all my numbers, and I divide by 8, and it equals, there we go, I'll move that off to the side. Okay, so I get 12 as the mean. That's the average, right? And now what I want to do is I want to do a dot plot, and I want to think about how far away from 12 the other numbers are. So I go and I look at it and I go, well, okay, well, how far is this 5 away from 12, right? Oops, sorry. Let me go ahead and I'm going to put 12 right here is the mean. So there's my 12. So when I put this little dot where the 5 is, it is 7 away. I'm going to put a 7 next to it. And then I have 2 8s. So here it's, 5, 6, 7. Here's my 8. Here's another 8. How far is 8 away from 12? It's 4 spaces, right? So I got a 4 and a 4. And then I need to look at how far is 10 away from 12, right? It's 2 spaces away. And then I've got a 13, which is 1 space away. And I've got a 14, which is 2 spaces away. And 16 is 4 spaces away. And my last one of 22, how far is that from 12? It's 10 spaces. And already by looking at the dot plot, you can see that maybe 22, it might not technically be an outlier, but it's quite a bit different than most of the other numbers. Okay, so here's what I want to do. Step 3 and 4, you're going to take all of these numbers that are how far away the dot is from the average. You're going to add those and divide by 8. So there it is, and I get 4.25. So the and it's most useful when you're comparing 2 sets of data and you're trying to figure out which one is more spread out than the other. And so this is the MAD is 4.25, and then when we interpret the MAD, right, we use language like this: the data differ from the mean by an average of 4.25. Or you can say the data's average distance from the mean is 4.25. So that's interpreting. I'll just show you a few problems in your textbook. So here is, let's see if it has the page number, 422. Okay, so here are some problems that you could try. 5 through 9, find and interpret the mean absolute deviation of the data. And I will put the answers to 5 through 9 in the Canvas assignment, and I'm not going to be collecting homework or recording it in PowerSchool, but if you want to have some fun and just try to see if you can figure out how to calculate the MAD, that's it. Okay, good luck.